All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another We Read the Documents live stream. I'm your host, John Brisson. If you guys been wondering where my streams have been, I've taken them off YouTube and moved them on the Libra. You may see them pop up on YouTube for a few minutes, but it just makes the transfer process easier. Automatic transfer to Libra. So go follow my Libra if you want to listen to my newest stuff. Some of the stuff I'll leave up here, obviously. Because I don't think it's controversial enough for me to get a strike. I'd like to continue using YouTube to produce videos as long as I possibly can. So just, go subscribe to my Libra, go check it out. Posting a community tab where my Libra's at. So if you want to listen to me, my new streams or whatever, please go check that out. I recently had a stream with Arturo Tavoyski. We discussed the Institute of Noetic Sciences. I'm going to play a clip from Marx Hubbard's speech to the Institute of Noetic Sciences in a minute. So if you want a more in-depth discussion of the Institute of Noetic Sciences and why you should care about knowing about them, go listen to the recent Gut Check episode I did with Arturo. Thanks to Arturo. Shout out to him for all his research. And that'll be on the Libra. Also, I uploaded a Live from the Kill Shed episode with me and Bill Ray Valentine. We discussed Trump's Arizona rally last week. So please go listen to that and the about face that he's done on the vaccines. We'll see how far that goes. Let's see here. Things have happened recently that I've seen. Well, let's see here. I've been researching Palmer Luckey and his connections to Peter Thiel. Of course, Palmer Luckey was one of these so-called inventors and founders of Oculus. And how Oculus, hooking people into the metaverse. Of course, Facebook bought out Oculus, Meta. Palmer Luckey founded a new corporation very similar to Palantir that was in charge of installing a virtual border wall on the border of the United States and Mexico to kind of, monitor illegal immigration and cartel traffic that continued from the Trump administration into the Biden administration. They still continued the work. Pardon my ignorance, I forgot exactly what company. It's like got some mythical mineral name or something. Hold on, let me look. Palmer Luckey's company is Anduril Industries. So Anduril Industries, of course, was financed by Peter Thiel money through Founders Fund. And Palmer Luckey's sister, Ginger Luckey, is married to the alleged pedophile Matt Gaetz. So there's just it's something to dig into that I haven't really heard many people talk about. So it's something that I might do a show on here recently. Just putting those connections together. I did a little Twitter thread about it. See if I can bring that Twitter thread out. Let's see here. Here we go. So we have what they want you to think the metaverse is, which is kind of like Ready Player One, but what really is someone alone in their apartment because they'll own nothing. With the World Economic Forum and Meta, someone separated from their family and loved ones, living a quote-unquote better life in the metaverse, better life in the metaverse instead of actually going out and living their life. Brought to you by CMP, Thiel, and the Zuckerberg. And then you have Palmer Luckey here. Of course, Palmer Luckey's with Chuck Johnson, with Stephen K. Bannon. Palmer Luckey with Roger Stone. Of course, Matt Gaetz is connected to Roger Stone, and Ginger Luckey's married to Matt Gaetz. And then Ginger Luckey, interestingly enough, she says, Twitter bio says, obsessed with food, data, and positive utility. Love wins. Very interesting. Love wins with Matt Gaetz, huh? But obsessed with data, huh? Kind of Ephesians 4:6 kind of play on Christians. But obsessed with data. Huh. And then Peter Thiel, Wired icon, nominated Palmer Luckey. And then, of course, you have me poking fun at the progressive open source intelligence researchers, because there are a lot of them, not all of them. I've met good progressives who do great research exposing both sides of the world order and try to keep their own accountable. Just like me as a Christian conservative, I try to keep my own accountable. But there are no heroes, in my opinion. But so you have Oculus founder Lucky Palmer plans to come back with a virtual border wall, and then documents reveal how Peter Thiel's backup startup Anduril, which is Palmer Luckey's company, using artificial intelligence and an army of data labels under NDAs to build a virtual border wall for the Biden administration. So just like Operation Warp Speed, Operation Tiberius Kirk, using Palantir to track the data of anybody who gets the COVID jabs, health data, past, present, or future, or anybody who gets a COVID test at a testing agency, or anyone who gets a COVID test in the hospital. Their past, present, and future health data goes into the databases within Operation Tiberius Kirk, which is controlled by Palantir. And of course, that continued from the Trump administration to the Biden administration. Same boss, old boss, same as the new boss. So Biden continued with that. Anytime I bring that up to any of the progressive researchers on Twitter that rail against Peter Thiel being quote unquote racist all day, and how evil Palantir is, when I bring them the information up about Operation Warp Speed, Operation Tiberius Kirk, they all kind of just are, they don't answer me. So why would they answer me? Because they're not honest. Because they trust the science. Okay? So Luckey sold his Oculus virtual reality headset company to Facebook for $2 billion in 2014 and left there in March 2017 under controversy. Since then, he's founded Anduril Industries, a defense technology startup that's focused on national security and artificial intelligence. Just like Palantir. And Palantir has numerous government contracts spanning 3 administrations: Obama, Trump, and Biden. Anduril reportedly supports a government AI drone project. Oh boy. The guy who invented Oculus, a artificial intelligence government drone project that, started with the Trump administration, continued under the Biden administration. All those progressive researchers out there on Twitter, the open source intelligence researchers out there on Twitter, they're so, concerned, and rightfully so, about Palantir's involvement in law enforcement and having government contracts. Of course, they don't care that the app that Peter Thiel invested in, which used to be called what was it? Hold on, was it Vigilante or Neighborhood? I think it. I discussed it. Yeah, Vigilante app is called Citizen now. Citizen has where you can put your own COVID information for COVID passports in major cities. Again, Palantir, Operation Tiberius Kirk, COVID passports, but I digress. But so yeah, Anduril's working on AI drone projects. You think they would care, right? You think they'd report this, right? But it's under a Biden administration, so to them, who cares? Because to them, Biden's our guy. Which is ludicrous. Okay? It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And then, of course, we hear $41 million from Founders Fund to Palmer Luckey's Anduril. So, Thiel, venture capital firm, Founders Fund, led a recent $41 million round funding for Anduril Industries. And then right here, Thiel, Founders Fund, Palantir, CMP. Notice all the connections between the two. Anduril Industries joins Palantir Technologies' Titan Industry team. So Anduril Industries is under Palantir. Okay? So corporations working with the government, with the military-industrial complex, to do what? Spy on us, steal our data, control us, on and on and on. On and on and on. And of course, a lot of these open source intelligence researchers, these progressive researchers who rail against Palantir all day long on Twitter, they don't tell you that Avril Haynes, okay? Now, this is something that was brought up by true progressive researcher Dave Emery on Spitfire List. He discusses, okay, so why was it scrubbed that Avril Haynes used to work for Palantir before she went to work for the Biden administration? So Avril Haynes is the current office, the head of the office. She's director of national intelligence. All right. So she's the first woman to sell as service director of national intelligence. And she's doing it under the Biden administration. She's Jesuit trained at Georgetown University. But again, Camo's Anduril is Token. I don't really like Token. So if anybody knows Anduril is also from Token, let me know. That would make sense because for some reason they have an obsession with Token, with Lord of the Rings mythology. I don't know why. Sorry to all the Token fans out there. It was never my cup of tea. Yeah. So I mean, just continuing on, The elites really don't give a crap about us. Never have. None of them. All right, so here is another elite, Barbara Marx Hubbard. I've done shows on Barbara Marx Hubbard. William Ramsey and I have discussed Barbara Marx Hubbard. I did a show on The Recluse. This is The Farm. Shout out to Recluse. With Arturo on Barbara Marx Hubbard. I'm not going to go in depth on who Barbara Marx Hubbard is, outside of her being an elite. Her father, Louis Marx, owned the Marx Toy Company. Used to sell toys in the Sears Roebuck catalogs when my grandparents were still living. He was a Republican financier who financed the Bush family. Very, very wealthy man. And this is his New Age daughter, who said that the elite will cull 1/4 of the population to be a pity culling because they choose not to ascend and they will be the pale horse rider, and that they're ordained by God. So this woman is evil. She's likely in hell. She died a few years back. Thank you, Alex. Alex said Anduril is the name of the sword put back together in the Lord of the Rings. So yeah, seems about right. So let's play Barbara Marx Hubbard's Evolutionary Spirituality speech at the Institute of Noetic Sciences.
Well, I'm still out of breath. I'm going to have a talk with ions. Dancing on the stage was not my agreement. Yesterday we were talking about creating our dreams, and it turned into my worst nightmare. So, apologize for that. But it was nice sharing the spirit of community in that dance with all of you. We're here in this moment of innovation where we're on the cusp of a mathematical formula for the primary state of consciousness. We have poets and visionaries leading the way. But it wasn't always this way. I remember back in the rather dark days of the early 1980s, circa 1983 for me. And yes, I'd read a few books, Thomas Berry, Fritjof Capra, but there were so few and far between of visionaries. I knew what I wanted to say, but I was looking for some affirmations from others. And I was in Watkins bookstore in London, and I was telling them there what I needed. And they gave me a blue book and said, try this. And it was The Evolutionary Journey by Barbara Marx Hubbard. And it looked like a fairly simple book. The print was kind of big. There were a few pictures. You know, I thought, I can handle this. And I started to read it, and it was like, somebody else knows. Somebody's got the vision. And really, it was like coming home to that vision. And ever since that time, I have been a huge fan of this futurist. You know, she is such a futurist.
So if anybody gets caught, there's futurists within the Finders, okay? Kristen Noth, for example. If you're a Christian, you shouldn't call yourself a futurist, okay? And I'm not saying you have to be a Luddite. There's many things that people would consider me to be a Luddite about. I don't own a microwave in my house, for example. But calling yourself a futurist and a Christian is kind of an odd pairing. Because there's a man named Council for National Policy member Rod D. Martin. He was part of the inner circle of the Arlington Group, which is the inner circle of the CMP, okay? He's known as, like, the head of the PayPal mafia, all right? Elon Musk and Peter Thiel wrote glowing reviews for Rod D. Martin in his book, about just how much he was just, they were just thankful for this relatively unknown man. And so he describes himself as a futurist. He calls himself a Christian, okay? But he describes himself as a futurist. And so Barbara Marx Hubbard described herself as a futurist. Yeah, Alex, the future of the new age. A lot of the Finders were futurists. You have the World Future Society, founded by Marion D. Petty and Edward Cornish and Barbara Marx Hubbard, and full of nothing but futurists. And a lot of them help propel the modern day science fiction. You had Gene Roddenberry, futurist, World Future Society member, for example. Star Trek had a really big push. I was calling it space communism, space futurist communism. Utopian ideals. It's all utopian until they kill you. Until you're the lesser. None of this is Christian. None of this is from God. You're going to hear Barbara Marx Hubbard talk about Jesus. Not the biblical Jesus. Not our Lord and Savior. No. She talks about different Jesus. Talks about different Jesus.
Yesterday, I was having lunch with her and a group of people. And Barbara was saying, well, we've got to invent a new vocabulary, really, to describe the future. I said, okay. So I'm going to run you through a little bit the glossary of futurism here so you can better understand the language Barbara is speaking. So first of all, she mentioned, well, what you're suffering from is what I call vocational arousal. I'm glad to know, I've been under this ailment for about 40 years. Now it's been diagnosed. I know where I stand. So I'm sure most of you out there have suffered from a vocational arousal as well. So today we're getting close to understanding our ailments, that will to search within. And then Barbara went on to say, well, you know, with vocational arousal, we need some other language. And so I've taken the word telos, which means purpose or goal in Greek, and eros, the god of love, and I've combined them together to get a nice adjective, telerotic. Oh, I like that. This is sounding good. Vocational arousal, telerotic. And then she said, and you know what we're really doing?
These people really just stand around. These people really just stand around and just talk about nothing. You know, Seinfeld was a show about nothing. These people literally nothing of any source because they don't have God, okay? Nothing of any truth, of any, just nothing. They literally, these people are the most self-centered, selfish, okay? Up their own butt people, okay? They love smelling their own farts like the South Park episode. And I hate to be graphic, but this is how bad these people are, okay? That I've ever heard. These people literally sit around and talk about nothing. And when they do finally decide to talk about something, okay, it's about how much they're going to kill us out of love and light. How beautiful it is. They're killing us. They're exterminating us because we're not enlightened like them. Okay, we don't sit around. We're not, huffing the fumes at the Oracle of Delphi. All right, where Kundalini spirit, the Python spirit, enters in through our third eyes and wraps themselves around our spine. Okay, this is what these people do. It's sickening. It's sickening. They need Jesus. They need the Holy Spirit to come in and they need to repent. This is sick.
At this moment is we're moving from procreation to co-creation.
Yes, of course, because you're not making kids anymore, okay? Your job's what matters, all right? No more making kids. No more having families, okay? And we're co-creators. We're little G's. We're lesser gods, okay? That's what these people believe, all right? These people believe that they're lesser gods, okay? They can co-create with God, all right? But it ain't co-create like having a family, making children, making babies, okay? You and your wife two become one. You co-create a child. No, it's none of that. It's getting down to the work, doing the work, doing what thou wilt, okay? It's a whole Mystery Babylon, Luciferian type mindset. It's sick. It's sick. And a lot of people here at this conference, they probably mean well, but they're in their own delusion. Okay, now look, I don't think Barbara Marx Hubbard means well. That woman is possessed willingly, all right? But there are probably many people sitting at these conferences that just think that they know God, but they don't. They only know themselves.
I said, yeah, I got it. And she said, so we need something from above, to inspire us for this co-creation. And I call it supra, from above, suprasex. And I'm going, I think I got it, Barbara. It's telerotic suprasex. Now, at this point, the people at our table were getting sort of cracked up about the whole thing. The waiter kindly walked over and he said, is everything okay? And if you remember Harry Met Sally, as we were all bursting in laughter, the woman next door is, I want what they're having. And I said, don't worry, it's telerotic suprasex. But seriously, Barbara is going to tell us about telerotic suprasex.
Yeah, talking about nothing. They're literally talking about networking. and they're calling it telerotic supersex. Okay, it's just called networking. Literally, that's all it's called. You don't have to call it some gross term. All right, where your brain. Okay, this isn't something that's saposexual. All right, this ain't big brained. Okay, it's called networking. You get together with some friends, you get together with some colleagues. Okay, you tell shop. That's called networking. You don't have to make it some special Gnostic term. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But in all seriousness and with great detail, because it is the biggest moment in the evolution of consciousness and humankind. And she has been the visionary that's really led us there. You know, way back when, Buckminster Fuller said, "There's no doubt in my mind that Barbara Marx Hubbard knows more, is better informed about futurism than any human being on the planet."
Wow. That's coming from World Future Society member Buckminster Fuller. Okay? Oh boy. Jonas Salk also said that Barbara Marx Hubbard continued his work and did more than he ever could. Jonas Salk, the so-called inventor of the polio vaccine. Okay? He was elite. Who didn't give a crap about anyone. He was a New Ager elitist. What? And also, and an aside with C60, we're talking about buckyballs. You probably don't want to put them in your body. All right, there's better mitochondrial supplements, ubiquinol and PQQ, for example. Okay, that's something that ubiquinol is produced ubiquinone, and then you produce ubiquinol happens in the mitochondria, the power plant of your cells. Okay, PQQ is found in the universe. All right, like it's cheaper, it's a better supplement. I've seen it work. Okay. It's an aside with Buckminster Fuller and buckyballs, all right? But these people, they just it's my will be done, not thy will be done. Okay? It's not God's will. They don't sit back and think, is this helping God? Am I doing God's will? No, none of this. None of that is that. I mean, a lot of them are serving Satan's will. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, but even those, some of them, they're just serving their own self-will. It's sickening.
That's quite a statement. And that's when she was just getting started. Can you imagine what Bucky Fuller would say about her today, all these years later, and what she's led us through? She's the president of the Foundation for Conscious Evolution. She was the co-producer of Birth 2012. Neil Donald Walsh has recently written a biography.
Remember when 2012, the Mayan calendar prophecy we're all supposed to ascend right now is being pushed in all the alternative media? Remember when George Snorri from Coast to Coast AM had Barbara Marx Hubbard on to talk about 2012 and the Grand Ascension? Remember when Foster Gamble, okay, shout out to Arturo, we talked about this in the stream that we did on the farm. Remember when Foster Gamble made a movie called Thrive? And Barbara Marx Hubbard was in that movie. She talks about the Ascension in 2012. And David Icke's in that movie. And Alex Jones is in that movie. And Stefan Molyneux. And Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And Catherine Austin Fitz. Okay? And Amy Goodman. And see it in Van Jones. Okay? And some of them actually were like, oh, we really didn't know about it. We didn't know who was all going to be in this Thrive documentary put together by Foster Gamble, who was a former heir to the Procter & Gamble fortune, supposedly. Okay? Supposedly he gave up his fortune because, Procter & Gamble is so evil. Which, I mean, let's be real. They're a corporation, but, said he makes this movie, and it's about ascension, and Alex Jones, he's a strong Christian, right? And a strong Christian, he's in a movie with David Icke and Barbara Marx Hubbard. Barbara Marx Hubbard Alex Jones is spending day in and day out railing against the global elite that want to depopulate us. But Barbara Marx Hubbard says she's going to depopulate us out of love and light. For our own good. It's pity. Casting pity spells. And Alex Jones, you think Alex Jones sit back and was like, maybe I denounce this documentary, maybe I shouldn't be in this documentary? No, he has Foster Gamble on to promote Thrive. I wrote about that in my Finder's book. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Marx Hubbard is one of the most evil women that's ever walked the face of this earth. I mean, she does it with a smile, with a duper's delight, with Lucifer's smile, that she gonna kill you while she's misquoting Revelation, damning her own soul to hell. It's ridiculous. The alternative media is in shambles, always has been.
Entitled About Barbara, the Mother of Invention. She, from my point of view, is the most innovative, visionary person of our times, and she's here with us today. Please welcome Barbara Marx Hubbard.
He gave away all my best lines. Well, I'm very, very excited to be here. Edgar Mitchell has been a tremendous influence in my life, because for me, the entire space program and the Apollo program introduced me to the idea that we are an evolving species.
Don't even get me started with her connections with the space program and with the Reagan administration. That's in another show. All right. Look, it's Grandma Barbara Hubbard. She Grandma. All right. She gonna tell you about Jesus. Okay, Grandma gonna tell you about Jesus. And she gonna tell you how much she loves you, okay? I mean, she's gonna smother you with a pillow, all right? Because God told her it's okay to do so, okay? Because you want to sin because you believe in the biblical Jesus, and you believe that, exegesis is more important, that his story is God's story, and he's God, and you can't believe that because you're not going to ascend, okay? So I don't know how she's going to put a pillow over you. Grandma's going to put a pillow over you. She fed you a nice turkey dinner. All right, you got sleepy from all the tryptophan, okay? All right, you sleepy. And Grandma's going to put a pillow over your face, all right? And she's doing it for the good of you, all right? For the good of you. The date of this conference was sometime in the mid-2000s. 2015. 2015 is the date of this conference.
And my subject tonight is evolutionary spirituality. And I'd like to just give you how I discovered it, and what I think it means to us, and how important it is in our evolution. It started for me in 1945 when the United States dropped the bombs on Japan. There we took the brilliant knowledge.
Fear.
E equals MC.
Be scared. Be scared. Fear. Okay, fear. All right, here we go. This is Bob Marx Hubbard, okay? 1/4 of humanity must be eliminated from the social body. We are in charge of God's selection process for planet Earth. He selects, we destroyed. We are the riders of the pale horse death. Grandma made you some turkey, and she gonna put a pillow over your face. She gonna tell you, sweet, I love you, grandson. I love you so much. I love you, but you follow Jesus, you believe in Jesus, and here we go. Here's another quote. Oh, this was even better. This act is as horrible as killing a cancer cell. It must be done for the sake of the future of the whole. So be it. Be prepared for the selection process, which is now beginning. We, the elders, have been patiently waiting until the very last moment before the quantum transformation. Take action to cut out this corrupted and corrupting element, the body of humanity. It is like watching a cancer grow. Something must be done before the whole body is destroyed. The destructive 1/4 must be eliminated from the social body. There you go. It's just like killing cancer. It's just like exercising a tumor, okay? Now, you believe in Jesus, and you believe in God, and you follow God's will, okay? And you repent, and you love your neighbor as yourself, okay? and you pray to God, and you want just a good family, okay, and your own plot of land and your own house, and you want to own some things, okay, and you can't have that, all right? You're not going to sin with the rest of us to have all this gnosis, and we know better, okay? Okay, so we're just going to have to kill you. Why she has a smile? Why Grandma has a smile on her face? Why she just fed you a good turkey dinner and she put a pillow over it? This is what these people believe, and it's sick. It is from Satan. This woman is burning in hell.
Squared, and we could build a bomb to destroy the world. And I realized if we continued to use that power in self-centered consciousness, we would destroy everything. So I asked a simple question: what is the meaning of all our new power that's good? What are images of the future human equal to science, industry, technology? And we could see way ahead to the high-tech new powers that we would want to become. And I will not go through my journey, but I found nobody knew. And the reason nobody knew is the powers are radically new. The church didn't know, Bryn Mawr didn't know.
Yes, that's correct, DJ. That's in my book. She did attend the Dalton School where Jeffrey Epstein taught, and Donald Barr was headmaster. Now, we don't really know if the dates line up of whether or not Donald Barr approved Jeffrey Epstein to teach at the Dalton School. Through newspaper articles and looking it up and researching, we're not sure if the time completely matches up. But they both taught at the Dalton School. It's a prestigious school. It's another school of the elite, you know.
I got to meet President Eisenhower in 1953 in the Oval Office, and I said, Mr. President, I have a question for you. Yes, young lady? What do you think is the meaning of the military, industrial, scientific power that's good? And he looked at me and he said, I have no idea. So I thought, well, we better find out. And I've been on a long journey, and I want to tell you what I think I found out.
She's going to tell you what she found out about the softer side of the military-industrial complex when she had a meeting with Dwight D. Eisenhower, okay? She had a meeting with Dwight D. Eisenhower, and she's gonna tell us the silver lining of the military-industrial complex, okay? Hint, 1st Earth Battalion. 1st Earth Battalion. Hint, Colonel Michael Aquino. That's the silver lining. That's Barbara Marx Hubbard's silver lining, okay, when it comes to the military-industrial complex.
And it started for me with Teilhard de Chardin. When I read The Phenomenon of Man in the 1960s, he was the first person who made the meaning of evolution for me. He said, take away God, take away Christ, give me matter. And he saw in matter what he called the law of complexity consciousness. As systems become more complex, they jump in consciousness, freedom, and synergistic order. In other words, there is a tremendous direction in evolution. And then he said, here's where it's going. And he wrote this in the 50s before internet.
Yeah, just take away God, you don't need God. Take away Jesus, you know, that's just a funny old fable story. Just give me matter. You know, give me what's right in front of me. You know, of course, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, they believe in quantum mechanics, which is a little bit different way of interpreting the matter in front of you, right? Because then you have the observational, law of attraction theory on matter, okay? Where matter's different depending on who's looking at it, okay? But, we're not going to talk about that, okay? Just give me matter. I don't need God. I don't need Jesus. I don't need to be saved. Just give me matter. Give me a rock. Look at a rock. Get things done with a rock.
The noosphere, he said, the thinking layer of Earth, the mind sphere, is going to get its collective eyes. And when that happens, it can be infused with exactly the kind of love and consciousness we have in this room. And that noosphere, when it gets its collective eyes, we will experience what he called the Christification of the earth.
Okay. The Christ consciousness. Now, where do we get the noosphere from? So we get it from the Russian, Ukrainian, Soviet biochemist Vladimir Vernadsky, and whom she mentioned earlier, who said, "Oh, you don't need Christ. You don't need God." Well, that'd be French philosopher and Jesuit priest Teilhard de Chardin. The guy you just mentioned earlier, where he was like, the guy that said you don't need God, you don't need Jesus, you don't need matter. Okay? Who talks about Christ consciousness, was a Jesuit priest. Now, this concept of the noosphere, well, what did it turn into? It turned into the Global Consciousness Project. Well, who's the Global Consciousness Project run by? It's run by the Institute of Noetic Sciences. Now, the Institute of Noetic Sciences was founded by astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who pushes the alien hoax agenda, okay, or did. He's deceased. I believe he is. And Paul Nathaniel Temple. Now, Paul Nathaniel Temple was a financier of the Family and the Fellowship. And you have the Templeton Fund, okay, which also funded the Institute of Noetic Sciences. So you literally have, quote-unquote, Christians, okay, quote-unquote conservatives, quote-unquote Fabian socialists. I'll call them Fabian socialists, no quote-unquote there, all right? They funded the New Age Institute of Noetic Sciences. You would think the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, you would think progressives, New Agers, you'd think they would have been whom would have funded it, right? Well, its primary funding came from the secret right. Christians started the Institute of Noetic Sciences. Huh. Did Alex Jones tell you that? Did David Icke tell you that? Did anybody in alternative media ever discuss that? That the people who fund and found the Council for National Policy and the Family and the Fellowship started the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which is New Age as they come to the hilt. Now, if you want more, listen to, the stream I put up with Arturo Tefoisky that I did for Gut Check, and the stream that, Arturo and I did together on Barbara Marx Hubbard on the farm that's on my channel. Huh. So we have conservatives, we have Christians funding this New Age think tank. And not only funding it, making sure it's got all the money it needs and more to run New Age thought processes and experiments. But did any of the secret right, CMP, did Tucker Carlson tell you this? Did Alex Jones tell you this? Did George Norrie tell you this? Did Jim Mars tell you this? Did any of them? Have you ever heard of the Institute of Noetic Sciences? Have you ever heard of Barbara Marx Hubbard? You want to know why I rail on the conservatives so much? Did Jay Dyer ever tell you this? Did Jason Burmis ever tell you? Why do you think I rail on these people so much? I'm not saying that they can know everything. Lord knows I don't. But if you would have talked to me about this, I would have said, please tell me more. Show me the work and tell me more.
He was a Jesuit Christian paleontologist.
He was not a Christian.
I would call it the awakening of love. In other words, he foresaw a quantum jump in the lineage of higher order, greater complexity, greater consciousness. And the minute I read that, I must have been in my early 30s, in the 1960s when I read it, and I dedicated myself to the noosphere. I'm sure I'm the only woman who ever did that. I became thrilled at the thought that evolution is going somewhere, and even more than that, it's going the same way I want to go. Now, that was a big revelation, because I was at that time a frustrated housewife in Lakeville, Connecticut, with 5 children and a bit of depression and wondering what I was doing on Earth. When I read oh, my desire for more life, more creativity, that I want to participate in something great, which was neurotic from a Freudian analytical point of view, that somehow this was the direction of evolution. And I became what I'm considering to be an identity for all of us. I became the universe in person, which is to say, the deep impulse in each of us to express, to be, to create, to love more is the impulse of evolution incarnate. That the closer any of us get to knowing that deeper impulse of creativity and love and say yes to it, the more that inner impulse and we become one. It is a whole new way of saying God and I are one. And if you say yes, like so many people in this room have said yes to the impulse of evolution within them, not only do you and that impulse become one, but you get
Oneism, Theosophy, Mighty I Am.
activated and regenerated and guided by the impulse. So not only is it coming from the whole field of consciousness that our awareness is greater, but the internalization of the impulse of evolution, because it's unique to every single human being, it guides every one of us. And here's another stunning observation, is that nature for billions of years has been creating whole systems out of separate parts, from single cells to multi-cells, all the way on up. And as Bruce Lipton points out, through epigenetics, when the membrane of a cell is such that more individual cells come in, it changes the script within each cell that is part of the larger whole. And the whole is greater than, different than, and unpredictable from the sum of its parts.
That's not quite how epigenetics work, and I'm not going to sit here and discuss it. You know, Bruce Lipton's a new ager like the rest of them, all right? Interestingly enough, you see all these people on the higher side chats with Greg Carlwood and Greg Carlwood pushing these narratives. You might find John Brisson's first interview with Greg Carlwood. I was a Gnostic then. What can I say?
The genius that I could be 52 trillion cells, they say, with how many hundreds of billions of microorganisms talking like this. And what am I organizing about it? Absolutely nothing. So the power of this universal process of creation, incarnate in every one of us as our own impulse to create, picking up the genius of the whole process of creation, has a tendency to want to connect with other parts, other humans, such that we might be right at the threshold of creating a whole system greater than, different than, and unpredictable from the sum of the parts. In other words, our love and our attraction for each other is not just a personal issue. If you go back to quarks being attracted to quarks and cells to cells and multicells to multicells, all the way on up, the universe is a love story. The universe is a great love story, and we're part of that love. So I want to tell you an experience I had that gave me a clue about what we can do. I was asking my usual question, what's the meaning of our power? And in this case, I'd been reading the New Testament, and I asked, not so much as a Christian, but I asked as a storyteller, what story could we tell that would be as great as the story of the birth of Christ? Stories, as we've been saying here, every other speaker has said it, stories create reality.
That is the most warped view of eisegesis I've ever heard. Hey, people in the chat, you know, your life story, okay? Your life story is equal or greater than the story of Jesus Christ, because it's just a story according to this woman, All right? It's just a story. It's not real. Jesus wasn't a historical figure. He didn't live. He didn't die on the cross. He wasn't God to this woman. All right? So what story? To this woman, her story is on par or greater than the story of the Messiah. There's nothing greater. There's nothing on earth greater than the good news of Jesus Christ. This woman is arrogant, full of Leviathan and her own arrogancy. To sit here and be like, I was just sitting around, just thinking to myself. And we're going to get to more on it later, what she says, all right? But she's just sitting around, just, my story, my life story. My life story is more important than that of the story of Jesus Christ, the good news of Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior. Because this woman thinks she's the Savior of mankind. This woman thinks she's the Savior. She's got Messiah complex. So, of course, she thinks of her will, her story, because she believes she's God. She's a co-creator. She is God. So, of course, she believes her story is greater than the good news of Jesus Christ. And the salvation of believing in that good news and repenting and choosing to serve the Lord and being born again, what that gives you. This woman thinks that she can offer that. What a crock of crap.
And when you believe a story, and when a whole culture believes a story, that's the way the story goes. That's the way the culture goes. So I said to the universe, I want to know our story that is as important to know as the story of the birth of Christ. With that, the universe opened up and I became an astronaut. And I saw Earth from space as a living system rather than as a beautiful blue planet. Because when the astronauts saw it, the distance was such that they only saw the beauty of the whole. But I was a little bit closer, and I began to watch a living system struggle, because that's exactly what we are. We're an organism. And I felt the pain so great throughout the whole living organism that in one moment we stopped. It's almost like 9/11. We've stopped a few times, almost. In this I call it a precognitive flash. What happened is we completely stopped, even for an instant, and what started to happen was empathy. Empathy started to course rapidly through the nervous systems of the planet. Now, we've felt that before, haven't we?
Now, remember, this woman left her children and her husband, okay? She got in a car with Jonas Salk and left them, all right? She left her family to go tell this story, okay? Her story. The universe's story, because she's telling the universe's story. She is a deadbeat mother, okay? Her kids and her husband are better off this wicked woman left them, all right? I hate to say it, but it's true.
We felt it many times, but it stops. And we go back to the illusion of separateness, and we go back to the various contentions. But in what I began to call a planetary birth experience, the empathy didn't stop. And right after the empathy came the next stage of the emergent humanity, and this was spirit came within everyone and was heard by each person in their own language, in their own image, in their own words. It was a minor planetary Pentecost.
So from my book, and it's a rough draft, this part is. So, Jonas Salk went to Barbara's home in September 1964, okay, in Lakeville, Connecticut. And Jonas looked at Barbara, okay, they went into the house and they sat down. And they were talking, and Jonas looked at Barbara and said, "This is like the Garden of Eden." And Barbara replied to him, "Yes, and I'm Eve, and I'm leaving." Supposedly, Barbara left her husband and children, her old life for Jonas Salk, and her visions for the future. A pivotal moment in Miss Hubbard's life came in 1966, when she had a particularly strong spiritual vision. In a flash, I was catapulted into the future, and I could see a few frames ahead in the movie of creation, she said. She saw human knowledge and social systems meshing into a positive empathetic force. What Christ and all great beings came to earth to reveal is, we're one, we're whole, we're good, we're universal. Go tell that story, Barbara. Go tell the message.
Everybody heard it from within in their own language, and what happened? The walls came tumbling down. The walls of the religions that had given us all this tremendous wisdom in different cultures simply became beautiful archetypes of the past when we heard it from within, and we did, enough of us, along with the empathy. See, this is almost happening. That's why it's so great. It's happening in this room right now. So we had the empathy, we had the hearing from within, and then we had healing. You know, when Jesus would walk through a village, people would get healed in his presence, just as he walked by. What happened there? I believe that when the empathy and the inner spirituality is being experienced, it's an innate natural healer.
He was God, and people were being healed by their faith, Barbara. Not by some inner working, not by some inner knowledge, some inner healing, not by some gnosis.
Yes? We were healing ourselves, and when we started healing ourselves in this empathy and speaking out our own love of spirit, what happened is the mass media had to pick up the good news. And we had a sudden conversion of the mass media to covering the story of what the people were actually experiencing, and the mass media got healed. Big thing. But just jumping back to Teilhard for a moment, don't forget the planet has grown a new nervous system in the last 15 years, and it's internet. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's 7 billion cell phones and counting. It's an enormous nervous system has been given, and it's open to us. So what I experienced in that planetary birth experience was that when we started to speak that way and the healings and the mass media came, the next thing that came was the Buckminster-Fuller scenario. Now, Bucky said, as you all know, we now have the resources, technology, and know-how to make the world work for everyone. Well, that's true too. When we were in empathy and creativity and the news of who we are, what happened was in this, and I'm putting it in the past tense as though it already happened, what happened was the same power that coordinates particles to make new wholes all the way on up the billions of years began to coordinate the health, education, economics, new energy systems, new governing systems, new...
This sounds very similar to the Seven Mountains Mandate. New Age, Seven Mountains Mandate, New Apostolic Reformation. Your will, Satan's will over God's will. Bringing Christ's kingdom down here on earth instead of Jesus and God being sovereign and being able to do that themselves. Interesting. They sound very similar. I wonder why.
Consciousness systems began to self-organize, and within a very short period of time, we found that we could heal, we could educate, we could feed, we could clothe, we could care for everybody on earth, and that's already true too. I experienced that entire sequence in a flash, and as I was feeling it in my body, since I'd asked the universe the question, what is our story comparable to the story of the birth of Christ? If we knew it, what would it be? And so I heard the words, I would say from a universal consciousness, our story is a birth of a co-creative universal humanity. Our crisis is the crisis of the birth of an emerging species. Go tell the story, Barbara. That was a vocation of destiny, because it's really, literally true. And what happened to me when I...
It's true in her own head, and the demons that fill her, and the false Holy Spirit, spirit of Python, divination wrapped around her spine and her vagus nerve. This woman serves Satan, and this woman serves herself. This woman does not serve God. This woman does not know God. This woman does not know Jesus. She may talk about Jesus, but this woman has no idea who Jesus is, and Jesus will deny her to the Father. This woman is in hell. I seriously doubt that she repented on her deathbed. If she did, all glory to God. But I don't think she did. This person is in hell. She is gleeful that she is dragging down anybody who listens to her to hell with her. Shane said that in the chat. You were right, Shane. Grandma wants to kill you and does it with a smile.
Said yes to going to tell the story that we're a species whose crisis is natural. See, it's natural that we overgrew the womb of Earth. We didn't know. When I graduated from Bryn Mawr in 1951, we were all told, get married and have as many babies as you possibly can. And we did. I had 5. I mean, how many people are having 5 now who were the age I was at 21? So I was the last generation of the old order. The new order has come in, all of these things. So instead...
I was the last generation of the old order. The new order has come in. I left my family. I left my kids. I was the last generation of the old order, and the new generation has came in. Jezebel rising.
Instead of criticizing ourselves for having been so guilty of having overgrown the womb of Earth, I think we have to say our crisis is a birth. If we continue to do it, we will destroy ourselves. But if we can be activated by that crisis to coordinate and to integrate our life purposes with one another in connecting what's already working, we will find that we're being born as a universal species. And it turns out that this generation, and maybe even these next 5 to 10 years, are the years where we have to catch hold of this story. So this is not just a nice metaphor. If we say our crisis is the birth of a co-creative, co-evolving humanity, and we stop overgrowing the womb of Earth, what do we start doing? Most of these problem solvers do not give us the passion to what we want to do. What we actually want to do is everybody to identify what that creative purpose is, to do it with all our heart and soul, and to connect that which is creative on this earth. If we took the next 5 years and said our purpose would be by 2020, we would connect enough of the co-creators in health, education, economics, in every sector of human endeavor, in every culture, and for the very first time, get an actual picture of the emerging world that's already in our midst, which we have never seen before. We've never seen our world working at the scale that it's possible for it to work. What if we were to take a shared movement, just like our wonderful poet was saying? What if we had a movement to connect what's working and show up by 2020 as the beginning of the next stage of human self-evolution? What would you think of that? Why not? Let's do that. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I want to back up for a minute and just say, because my subject was evolutionary spirituality, I'd like to tell you what I think it is and how evolutionary spirituality is going to help us have this movement. I've very simply named evolutionary spirituality with 4 E's to help me remember exactly what's happening to me and so many others. The first E is eternal. So in evolutionary spirituality, we are one with consciousness, just like that brilliant man was saying at the beginning of this session. One with consciousness, with God, with source, eternal. Second E is embody. It is a stunning realization that every one of us is a resume of the entire story of creation.
So she's a pantheist.
Every atom, molecule.
She's a pantheist. We are God. God isn't separate from time and space. He isn't the creator. But we're God. Everything's God. Everything's within God. That's what this woman is espousing. It's a bunch of BS.
Cell, mammalian brain, early brain, human brain, maybe evolutionary
Yes, she was a member of the Club of Rome.
brain. All of this, we are the universe in person, showing up. And if you just jump a little bit to people like Aurobindo, who saw that we would become the Gnostic human, we would become humans that actually incarnate the genius of evolution.
Wow. There you go. There you know thyself. The Gnostic human.
Supramental powers of evolution. And I feel that that's exactly what starts to happen if you realize, that we embody the whole process of creation, and that when the full consciousness of being human arises, when I sense of myself and others, I'm embodying the genius of evolution. The genius that created a universe is in every one of us. Oh my God. Turn that on. Evolutionary spirituality starts to turn that on. So when I look at anyone and I see a thumb, I see an ear, I see eyes, I say, oh my God, what did it take to do that? It's a huge appreciation for what it took to do all of this. And then the next part of this is the third E is emerge. As Brian Swim says, the universe always wants more. Every one of us is the universe in person emerging. Yes? Wow. So we're not only embodying, we're emerging. And what are we emerging as? Well, that's where you have to say, I'm incarnating the impulse of evolution as my own impulse to create. We're creative. God is creating godlings. Creator is creating co-creators. When we say yes to the impulse of evolution in evolutionary spirituality, which is to say to give divine reality to the impulse itself, to the process of creation itself, divine beyond imaginations of genius, to create an entire universe, and we as part of it. So emerge.
Some people might be asking themselves, well, John, why are you watching this? Who cares about this woman? Okay. She's a member of the elite. She's very high up. Her family was extraordinarily wealthy. Okay. She's not just some woman. She's not some grandma giving a speech at a conference. Okay. This woman is elite of the elite. And so that's why you should listen to her, to understand how wicked this woman is. The stuff that she says, she guides it all. And I love you. Love and light. You know, we're universe. We're one. Okay? But instead, this woman wants to kill you. She said it's out of pity. You're a cancer cell. You're a tumor. You have to be excised. This woman wants to kill you.
Urge is that growing edge of every single human being alive. And the big yes in evolutionary spirituality is not only yes, personally I can do it, but yes, universe, I'm here for you. Yes, universe, help me, do me, be me, through me, and you and the universe start to collaborate. And you start to tune into the genius of the universe, and you even start to regenerate. I'm 85 years old. What got into me? The universe. The saying, it's the universe.
The same demons that are keeping Henry Kissinger alive. Hi-yo!
And then the last E, I just really thought of it, and this was my dear friend Emmanuel was making fun of this, but it's Eros. And here, if you have eternal, embody, emerge, erotic. What is this? I am going to make a claim for the evolution of sexuality. Now that is a really big idea. Here's the idea, the evolution of sexuality. We've hit a limit to massive procreation. So we're going to be having fewer children and children by choice. What's been happening, and it started with the women in the 60s particularly, is the urge to reproduce.
Here you go. A woman who left her children, okay? Left her children, okay? She's going to lecture to all y'all parents out there, all y'all people who want to have kids but can't, or are planning on having kids or may not be able to have kids but want them. She's about to lecture to all the women out there who stay home with their kids, okay? All the women out there who choose to have families, okay? She'll lecture to everybody out there about how this elitist, okay? This woman who abandoned her children is about to lecture about how superior she is. This is a personification of the spirit of Jezebel. Of how just enlightened she is. You don't want kids. Okay, that's not love. That's not, you don't want that. You don't want, you have the power to co-create, but you don't want to co-create some kids. You want to co-create some jobs. That's what you want to do. All right, you want to be in love with your job and networking. That's what you want to do.
Reduce up to maximum, which I was the last generation in this culture to see this is the thing to do. What started to happen is the women began to rise up for feminine power, feminine equality. And
divine feminine, spirit Jezebel, divine feminine, Gnosticism, goddess worship. There you go. Ding, 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 ding.
And we have done that, folks. That's really been done well. But what began to happen to me...
We have done that, folks. That's really been done well.
As a woman, as I jumped into the idea through Teilhard de Chardin, Sri Aurobindo, mainly, is that I am incarnating the impulse of evolution as my yearning to express, to create, and to be, and that instead of joining...
So, when her and her husband two became one, when they created kids, to her that's not co-creation, okay? And I'm not saying that we're little gods, okay? We're not, okay? But I'm saying, you do, when you have a child, okay? When hopefully two married people come together and they have a child, okay? When they create another living being, okay? When two become one, they make something. But to this woman, that's not making anything. When she talks about, we are God, we co-create, and she's about to discuss it, it's about working and networking and jobs and, but the divine feminine, I guess that's the conquering wind of the divine feminine, is the destruction of motherhood.
Genes to have the baby, which is a tremendous innovation of nature. The impulse is to join genius, to give birth to the greater self and the greater world. And that's where the vocational arousal comes in. Because if you find somebody who really loves what you long to express and give, you get vocational arousal. And when you get your vocational arousal, what you want is to join your genius. And if you're fortunate enough to find people with whom to join your genius, it's so pleasurable that.
Yes, Barbara, it's nice to have people with like values come together and get work done, okay? Yeah, but it ain't the same as me and my wife in a relationship, having relations, and making my children, okay? That is far greater. Like, I look, Kevin's in the chat, Shane's in the chat, Ov's in the chat. You know, I love working with you guys. It's great, okay? It's fun, getting research done, networking, being friends. That's all great. But it does not hold a candle to me, you know, having children with my wife, to my children. It's not even close.
Mother Nature has put pleasure into joining genius, just like she did to joining genes. But since she doesn't want us to have more and more and more babies indiscriminately, she's given more and more pleasure to joining genius. Has anybody discovered that? This is what's happening here. We're joining genius all over the place. Every single place I go, I'm sitting down, I'm joining genius. And so, telerotic, this is really a great word. When eros, you put the universal love story, that desire, all things joining to join at higher and higher order, you put that together, eros, together with the purpose of the impulse of evolution within you as your desire to create, in the name of the larger process itself, you put that together, you get telos and eros, and you get telerotic instead of neurotic. I was bordering on neurotic as a housewife in Lakeville with the 5 children. The moment I picked up on telos and eros and this, I became telerotic. Now it's good for you. It's health giving.
Leave your kids. So great.
It's actually better than a facial. It's so much fun.
Hi-yo! Whatever facial she's talking about. Hi-yo! You are correct, sir.
This was what was happening at the table yesterday. We were laughing because Emmanuel, he was so telerotic that he said he finally figured out what had happened to him his whole life. He was telerotic. Well, so was everybody else at the table. So
100% Shane. She is speaking paganism right now. 100%.
almost everybody I know. So I want to give you the finale here. The finale would be a moment of total teleros for the universe, for the earth. Now, this is a serious thing. Irvin Laszlo, who has been my partner in many times as an elder of this, and we're going down to Monterrey, Mexico to do a big wheel of co-creation to put people in every sector of the wheel, like Claudio Naranjo and Bruce Lipton and famous people, to say, what would happen if we synergize? What would happen if we connect the dots of what's already working on this earth? And I would like to declare that if in 5 years we collectively decided to have a global invitation for people everywhere on earth who are impelled to create something creative, good, and for the good of the whole, to start identifying it in an internet site that is designed to self-organize what's working by region, by a subject, until we could get a vision of what's already emerging in this world. and I've talked this over with Irvin Laszlo, because he took us all to China, and he made the statement there that if we don't get ecological consciousness in the next 5 years, we will go extinct. It doesn't mean that we've solved everything, but we have to change consciousness.
Yeah, China. Not a lot of pollution there. Am I right, guys?
Now, there's an awful lot going on about how we've done things wrong, and that's absolutely true. But I would say there's almost nothing going on about what we can create and are already creating. For somehow the news doesn't tell us it, and by God, what is the news? This is the news. The news is not only where we're making our mistakes, and most of the mistakes we're making because we didn't know. You know, we didn't. The generation that I was did not know. My professors at Bryn Mawr didn't know. One of my professors told me, well, Miss Hubbard, I really think that we've got most of our problems solved already. He didn't know. He didn't know in 1951. So I propose that we develop a new world purpose, is to connect what's working by 2020. And the date has been picked by some other people, Stephen Dinan, including the one who worked with 2012, is how about International Peace Day 2012? And there's another thought in here that I want to briefly tell you. I don't know what my timing is. I'm not watching the clock. Where is the clock? Oh, right there. Oh, my time's over. Oh, it says, okay, well, I'll just take one more minute to tell you this. Sorry. I was looking at you, not yet. Yeah. I ran for vice president in 1984. And I had a proposal which is so good that I was the other woman nominated, along with Geraldine Ferraro. And here was the proposal, that there should be in the office of the vice president a new function, a peace room as sophisticated as a war room, to scan for, map, connect, and communicate what's working in the world. Well. And when I entered that Democratic National Convention, I was told I'd be lucky to get one delegate if she were my mother. And I got over 200 by saying to these early morning caucuses.
That just shows you how crazy the Democrat Party is. Hey, the conservatives ain't much better, if that.
I want you to nominate me so I can make the declaration that the Democratic Party of the United States of America should have this as its goal. And they signed me up. So I don't think it's going to be in the government. And this may be accurate anyway, but it could be that we could do it. The people of the world, and particularly the Institute of Noetic Sciences. This is the very first time I've ever publicly said this, because it's just been coming on me in the last few weeks. I would like to join forces with you and everybody on Earth, so by 2020, International Peace Day, we'll see the world that's working, and once we see it, we'll never go back. Thank you.
So if you guys want more of Barbara Marx Hubbard, I've done shows. You can look through my Libri to find it. Just search Barbara Marx Hubbard. Now, in her speech for the Democrat National Convention in 1984, she said, and I quote, in 1776, a handful of genius came together to take the first step. It will not be a handful, but a landful of genius. We will gather in every town and every village and every city in the new meetings of the future. We will state the word of truth from the place of power in the American presidency. When the word of our potentials go forth from the American presidency, the word shall become flesh. In 1776, they allied to do it, they committed to it, and they co-created it. So must we, and so shall it be. Well, yeah, majority of the founding fathers were Freemasons and deists and Luciferians. Barbara Marx Hubbard just giving it away with that speech. The blasphemy of this woman who burns in hell. All right, everybody, that is it. God bless each and every one of you. Take care. And see you next time.